Hi, good morning, good morning. My name's John Wright, and I just want you to check this out. There's a picture of my dad and his brother. You see? My dad's on the side with the girl. He has his hands around the girl. Look what I've got, he's saying. And then it's his brother, and he's got his hand around his wife, too. His wife has short hair. I remember her. I only met her one time, though, I believe, and that was at Alturas Lake when George and his brother met up to each other, with each other. And then I met his brother again later in life when he came back to see George in person. And my dad bopped and weaved next to him with my sunglasses on, going, "Hey, hey, look at me, John, look at me, John." And his brother ended up getting up, hopping in his car and getting out of there. And it's interesting that there's Milburn Wright. So anyway, Milburn Wright, interesting guy. He's older than my dad, and his face and my dad's face both seem to be on this wanted poster as the Zodiac. You know, it's possibly family. It's in the kin itself. If it's organized and Jerry Wright's doing the same thing and it's in a bloodline, you know, type of a thing. And we've got the FBI file here. Right here's my grandmother's house in the center of this. So somebody could say, well, maybe John Wright's making this up and maybe John Wright's not. And I'll say I'm privileged to come and tell you the truth because nobody else will. And that's why I'm here. And my family's been leaning on me for so many times. You know, it's like Bertha Burke's right here from Port Angeles, Washington. And the Connors boy, their cases was never solved. And really, they are now. They really are. These Bertha Burks and the Connor and that other boy, the other boy, one of the boys has the L in it. They're connected to the welfare department. One of the boys are. Most of the people are. And, you know, I was just talking in the last film about my dad in that burnt house right there, and that burnt house right there, and that there, you know, in that house that got burnt. This woman here, she came to dinner at that house, and it was after I got off work. I stopped I had to go over next door to pay my dad rent. This girl was at my house waiting for me, you know. And like I told you about that, my dad's house burning next door, this girl was actually in it. You know, I mean, my dad says, well, go get Patty, go get her, and she go get John's girlfriend, they'll have dinner here. I didn't tell him she was black. He probably seen that she was black, walked over there. He wanted to meet her or something. She ended up murdered in Morton, Washington. She's right upside. She's right up above the auto parts store where Jim Kaiser lives, and Jim Kaiser lives at the same place where Terry Lance Shortridge was murdered. So I think they're playing a three-ring circus in Morton, Washington, and James Kaiser is involved in it too, by the way, at that point. He'd sure have some things to explain. And I like to have people explain things because I think they should be. This here is Victory Lanes. They called it Victory Lanes. Victim Terry Lance Shortridge. Morton. Green for sheriff's office. There's a chainsaw right there. Will cut you in half. Then they put a saw on the front of it after this, and it started with a big wheel inside of the bowling alley that you spin. My dad's big wheel that you'd spin, that I guess was shaped like a pizza. Now here's the people. Here's John Burkett. There's John Dorset. He's right there. John Dorset's right there. That's Angie Dorset. They purchased this bowling alley. They say they came from Wisconsin or something. Or no, it was the same place that Earl Anthony got murdered from. And Earl Anthony taught me how to bowl in this bowling alley, or gave me a bowling lesson, I should say. I already knew how to bowl. But anyway, and then this door set. These are door sets. Is the door set because, you know, they're doing in signs. And also George Farhart worked in the same areas as this guy did up in Eatonville. George Farhart goes around to these schools. He's the guy that jumped up in front of me saying, "Now your dad's my slave, now your dad's my slave." And I feel that he employed this guy to come here and do this. So it was a hand-picked person for this. What happened there? And I'll bet money on that one. Now, what happened to Earl Anthony? Earl Anthony fell down a set of stairs over there in Michigan, Minnesota, one of those two. Same place where this guy, where Angie's from here, I believe. And things stunk. Things stunk back there. Things stunk all the way along through things. Matter of fact, the Fairways Bowling Center, they painted it sheriff's green too, and I lost $200,000 over there, and actually my lawyer said I was entitled to $400,000 and something, and that would be Michael Claxton out of Longview, Washington, that actually, when I confronted Bob Kling and the rest of those crony weirdos up there in Lewis County about these bowling alleys and everything, you know, they started saying, "We're gonna ruin your life, John." You know, like a team of weirdos. You know, Bruce Kimsey came to my house with 4 other sheriffs. I believe that was him, the last one in the group. I looked at each and every one of their faces, and I've been with Bruce Kimsey since. Bruce Kimsey's a detective. Maybe Bruce Kimsey doesn't want me to remember that I seen him in that party of sheriffs that came to my house. They're all sheriffs that came to my house. Not one city cop came to my house. Over the Fairlanes Bowling Center, because I signed a contract with them to purchase that bowling center, then nobody wanted to come through it, go through with the deal. My real estate agent and stuff, all of them went cahoots. They were all dirty, you know. I mean, I could talk about Pacific Coast Investment at the Key Building in Seattle, Washington, and I was there on 2 or 3 different occasions, and, you know, I filed papers on Pacific Coast Investment in a race of time between Centralia, Washington, and up there at that Key Bank. I drove in excess of 100 miles an hour between here and there to get there, you know, in my Ford Escort. So when I ran through town like O.J. Simpson running through a football team, man, like it's almost sliding across hoods of cars and stuff, getting through traffic, get those papers filled on time, you know, on time. And it's like the 62nd floor of the Key Building where Pacific Coast Investments is. And you know, when this thing all fell apart and they kicked me out of the whole thing, and boy, I'll tell you what, they had a guy named Louis come down, and Louis's in the newspapers and stuff down there. The strong arm from the East Coast, Louis. Yeah, Louis wants me to come down the bowling alley. I've always been told if I go down that bowling alley again, I'm going to get arrested. Why? It's all over money. I never did nothing to anybody, and they banded me from the bowling alleys in Lewis County, you guys. They banded me from my businesses. Then they painted them sheriff's green to run me off, because I guess I was getting hot on the case and I didn't know it. I had a diary in my house. Wow, you know, I always think, God, this is like The Jerk. You ever know The Jerk? The movie The Jerk with Steve Martin? These cans are defective. These are defective cans. What is defective cans. No, no, stupid, they're shooting at you. Run, run, stupid, run. You know, and he goes running off. And that's exactly what they've done to me. And like down there at that gold mine, Brian Compton and Patty and them came there, and obviously they went out there and they took that trip around, and they got my wife to show them where that gold, right there's the gold mine where me and John found that gold that's in our fish tank, you know, as they got her drunk. You hear that going past my house? That don't need to be. People have driver's licenses, right, to have cars? So you just drive on the goddamn roads, because if my kid walks out there and steps out in front of that road and somebody hits my car, I guarantee you that guy in that car is going to pay. Do you understand? People shouldn't have to put up with people racing past their house. It's a luxury to drive a car. Drive it like it's a luxury to drive on my roads in front of my house. And by the way, you could say that from coast to coast, because, you know, no one has the right to do that. Not even the pigs that are running down to someone's house that had a heart attack, because if little Donald Trump has a heart attack, I don't give a fuck. But if you give me a fucking heart attack, or my wife falls off a goddamn ladder because you're disturbing the peace and causing a goddamn scene like these people driving across the roads right here, are you getting my point? They can agitate me real quick. It don't take much to trigger post-traumatic stress disorder, and it isn't my goddamn fault they murdered my friends in front of me. Like Terry Lance Shortridge. You know, the whole thing about the D.B. Cooper. Hey, you know what I say? Do you know your DNA? I got a DNA kit for you. They're $50 each, but I got them sitting here for my family members. You know why? Because I goddamn care. I wanted to know what was up their ass. I'm like a proctologist, you know, and that's exactly what I do. Now, you see these people? These here are the owners of the bowling alley. What are they doing in the cemetery, trying to dig up new bowlers? Jesus Christ. I never thought about stealing bowlers out of that. And look at this, at that bowling alley, they're selling pulled pork. 8 pieces of pulled pork, like 8 cigarette butts on a 727 Hijackers airplane, you guys. They're pretty goddamn bold, aren't they? How about this next one? Here's my friend Terry White. Her house was burnt down across the street from my house on Division Street. And over on her side of the road, they've got a little garden on the very corner. If you say anything, we'll bury you. Right across the street from that's Bob and Carol Whitlow's house. And then right there is Jim Kaiser's house, right there. It's a 3-corner threat right there on the corner on Division Street in Morton, Washington. And they've left it there, set up like that, so to remind people. They threaten my goddamn friends. They've even threatened me with Terry White. I've heard her name brought up to me from my sister. She works out at Weyerhaeuser. I didn't say one word, like she didn't mean goddamn nothing to me. Here's me after they put me on the run. Do I look like I'm a threat to anyone, you guys? That's me up in there at Beacon Rock. My son took a picture of me. I couldn't even get my son to take a picture of his face. He's hiding his face from me because he doesn't want to be seen. What have they done to him? Here's a picture of Stan Hoyt. My brother got him to drink piss underneath the goddamn bridge down at the Morton Bridge. And boy, I tell you what, this guy here, he's like Popeye on steroids. And Stan Hoyt, he's over there written about over at the Tube Sock Killers. And here's my dad, Zodiac Killer. And there's a picture of my brother Jim that looks just like my dad right there. And that red car, Oldsmobile F85, 8513 added up. It's a Zodiac way, and he was a Zodiac Killer. And there's my dad, Force, and my sister getting married. And that's the tie that was used in the D.B. Cooper crime, and it's 14.5 minutes, and I gotta get this off, or I can't upload. Thanks, my name's John Wright, and I'm just going through the stories. I'm showing you guys all the pictures and stuff, and you guys put the clues together and understand what I'm saying is true and real.